I believe we're going to see a lot of like mini studios and networks popping up all over the country. I think that we're going to begin to see a lot of people lean more heavily into their own networks and creating the networks that are also maybe super niche and serve specific audiences. How you are embracing change and new ways to adapt your stories, I feel will be very indicative of how successful you'll be as a storyteller in the future, whatever success looks like to you. For me, it's always been about simply finding a way to do the thing, like just do the thing. And anything that feels like it's gatekeeping or acting as an obstacle or trying to imply that you need permission, I itch with that. It makes me itchy.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining another episode of What's Wrong with Hollywood. I'm your host, John Stahl, and today I'm joined by Regina Hoyles, an award-winning writer, actor, and filmmaker who embodies exactly what we talk about on this show, taking creative control and making things happen. Regina created the web series Naps and the award-winning short film Adulam, recently launched the YouTube series Gina Gina, and wrote for Disney's Hey AJ. She successfully navigated both traditional Hollywood and the new creator economy, and I cannot wait to talk to her about the future of independent storytelling. Regina, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, John. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to jump in. There's a lot of interesting stuff that we're gonna cover in this one, and like me, you're in the space of just like going out and making stuff. So
super excited.
Let's get started from like the history books. You started in entertainment at 9 years old.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience. What was that like? What's that all about?
Yes. Well, I am, again, one of those people who knew what I wanted to do since I was an embryo. It was very clear to me up front, like literally if you see all of my Barbie fill in the blank books growing up, I would say like, I'm literally going to do this. Like, don't think it's a pipe dream. Like, actually, this is what's going to happen. And so this conviction, stayed with me long enough for my parents at an early age, thank God, to be like, you know what, I think she's really serious about this. So we need to find ways to pour into her. And so I started to, take classes out in Chicago and also just, contact other people that were doing the thing from our network, the people we did know, because Chicago has a little bit of a smaller market out here in the film and TV space. And I got an agent after one of those big like conventions that a bunch of kids who say they want to do the thing go to. And I have had representation like since I was 9. I've really never been without representation my whole life. And so, it started out with me doing a lot of the commercial gigs out here in Chicago. There's a huge commercial market in Illinois. And then also booking my first speaking role in a studio feature film called The Express. That was the film that got me my SAG card at age 12. Yes. Wow. And so I also spent a summer during pilot season in Los Angeles. And what is so crazy is that same apartment building that I stayed in became the apartment that I first moved into once I graduated from college. And I didn't realize it and put 2 and 2 together until I recognized, like from photos, I'm like, this is the same place. It's just totally renovated. So it was very like full circle. And so, acting is what I've been doing the longest professionally, though I have been writing since I, again, was an embryo, and making a lot of like comedy sketches and skits was where I first was getting my hand at that. And also making like these little storybooks that I would write and illustrate. I would just see things super, super clearly and know how I needed them to be executed. So, whether that was me making a sketch and writing it and filming it and then editing on Windows Movie Maker, hey, throwback, and then putting that together, like that was always a part of my story. But I've always been creating in some capacity, and it's one of those things that feels like breathing to me. I feel like if you've seen Pixar's Soul, when they're in the zone, like that's me, like when I'm up there like floating. And so it's something that brings me great joy and others joy, I find. So it's something that has always been a part of who I am. So yeah.
Can I ask you what drew you to comedy?
Listen, I'm a funny girl and I love making people laugh. I think it brings such a level of fulfillment for me to know that I can make people feel relief, to feel ease in their spirit. I know for myself, I know I'm a healer, and I know that that is one of the main ways that I do that. And growing up, it was just something that came so easily for me or to me, and I was always finding ways to make my friends laugh. My mom will tell you, she's always been like, Regina, why you got to be the entertainment? Why you always got to be entertainment? Somebody, she said it just like that, and I would just be like, girl, this is who I am. But it was something that came super naturally. It was instinctive. And just even the craft of comedy, I just started watching the history of the sitcom recently. It's a docu-series, and I was having a spiritual experience watching this, just seeing the ways comedy has evolved throughout the years and how much it served as such a callous and also a balm, like during crazy times. Hello, good morning. And it's just like, this is one of those things that will forever be needed. People will always need to laugh. Like, it's a very, very serious time in a serious world, an apocalypse now, all of that. Yes. But like, it's necessary, just as necessary as breathing to me. Just feeling that in your soul is something that I will always connect with. But comedy, yeah, that's it for me, for sure.
I
Probably
feel,
got a little too deep, but
yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, like, this is something that I've talked about before, and I feel it's a super important genre to like help people get through their day and year.
Yeah. Yes, literally.
Yeah, exactly. And so, at what point did you decide that you wanted to make your own content rather than solely focusing on traditional film and TV? Tell your own stories.
Also, since I was an embryo, made that decision. I knew that for me, whenever I always say, like, the fact that you were given a vision for it is more than enough reason for it to exist. And so for me, it's always been about simply finding a way to do the thing, like just do the thing. And anything that feels like it's gatekeeping or acting as an obstacle or trying to imply that you need permission, I itch with that. It makes me itchy. I'm like, I think not, because since I've had this drive to create from such an early age, for me, it feels so real. So why not go ahead and make it real? And I think that has, stayed with me from every phase of my life, whether, again, I was creating when I was really young or going to college and graduating a semester early and allowing what would have been my last semester to be an opportunity for me to create an entire web series where, I'm writing and also like acting in it and also looking around at my community like, you're really good at this. Let me bring you in here to this. You're great at that. And just finding ways to get people activated. Because I do feel like I have a gift of being able to discern like talents and abilities and just being able to see and encourage people in their giftings and like wanting to just get that together. I'm like, we got to do something with this. Like, we're not just supposed to sit here just for ourselves. And so I think that's just something that has always stuck with me. And while I have worked in Hollywood, and it's been an incredible experience, especially when I think about the community that I've been able to build within this world. I've still always kind of seen it as a means to an end, which is like creating at the end of the day for a living. And that is just the most paramount thing to me, that and serving the audience that's meant to be served with the work that I create. And so it's just been about saying yes to myself repeatedly has been my motto, saying yes to the ideas that I'm given and just going forward with that.
Well, let's dive into one of those projects that you're working on, and dive into Gina.
Yes.
How are you thinking about building an audience on YouTube, on this platform, after coming from more mainstream places like TV?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think one thing that I have found is I've been like this data kind of acquisition period where I'm just creating and I'm just for whatever feels right to me and then taking in information and feedback that I'm receiving. But I found that anytime I lean into where my energy is naturally going, it is often well received. Even when I'm not thinking about that as far as like audience, because yes, at the end of the day, I'm here to make people laugh and I want to entertain, but it's first beginning with me. Like if I'm making a sketch and I'm not laughing while I'm writing it or even making it, I'm like, don't know if this one is gonna hit. And so I think just from that, the belief that building an audience stands upon like a genuine connection, wherever you're feeling a connection to the work and the material and the things you're saying, like it will likely also translate into a similar connection with other people. And so I'm really just thinking about what I'm relating to, and then seeing how other people are relating to it and building from there. I am someone who believes in talk back culture, as a black. I am used to the talk back, we're used to it in church. It was like, go on, baby. Like, they'll give you feedback in real time while you're sitting
Mm-hmm.
on the pews and all of
Yeah.
that. And so I think it should be somewhat of a dialogue where you're listening as the audience is telling you what they want. And sometimes it's not so much them telling you as much as you're just seeing them respond in real time. And you're just like adjusting to that, which I think, in the case of Gina, that's one of the most appealing things about YouTube is you're not waiting for a bunch of ratings or notes. Like in real time, people are commenting saying, LOL, this time mark when she did this, so funny. Or people are saying, oh, this needs to be a recurring character, like within the series, which I have already gotten for things. And so taking that feedback and being able to incorporate it into my next episodes and next iterations of how I'm thinking about it, that's one way of how I'm thinking in terms of audience, is just listening to what they're responding well to, and ultimately I am just naturally I'm a big community person. Like, I believe in community, and while it's great to have an audience, some of the funnest experiences I've had, like, in this creator journey thus far, is literally like talking with people in the comments. It just feels like I'm chatting it up with cousins who are like, girl, this is my mom too, or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know, to send her some help. Like, it's just so fun to be able to engage with people, and that's like what we're here for. One of my biggest inspirations is Cicely Tyson, who, I believe in her autobiography, there's a quote that says, we are here to see and hear one another. And so, like, being able to connect with people in that way brings me some of the deepest fulfillment that I have no words to fully express. It's like a whole family reunion in some ways.
Yeah. And on that subject of connection and community, how do you find and work with collaborators? Like, who are the partners that you bring into this journey to work with, and what's that process like?
Yeah, I mean, first, people I like. Let's start
Yeah.
there. I really just
Yeah.
meshed with certain people, and I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the people I'm closest to are also very funny people without even trying, and that just brings me so much joy. But I feel like I'm very discerning about people and the spirit even behind a person. I'm big on joy and people not being so like egotistical, or those that are like just mean or like slander others. Like, those are who are genuinely so sincere in their character are very important to me. Like, I'll prioritize your spirit far more than I ever will your resume, and if for me the spirit's filling off, I'm out. Like, I can't do that. That's a non-negotiable for me, at least when we're thinking about people I want to be in consistent collaboration with. Like, that is super, super in collaboration. Mind you, it can evolve like with what it looks like, but for like a bare minimum, I need to know, like, where's your heart at? What's that doing? I need to know what that is doing at the end of the day. And that's one of the biggest deciding factors for me when it comes to collaborators, is assessing that out. But otherwise, I'm very blessed that I feel super surrounded by people who are brilliant, and like more brilliant than me. I think it's really important to not be the smartest person in the room. I consider myself a forever student. I am constantly observing and learning from leaders around me and movers and shakers around me. And so that's also been important. Like, who am I in community with that is also encouraging my growth because of the bar that they're holding themselves to. And so those are some of the markers, the guardrails, if you will, that I'm looking at when it comes to collaborators, for sure.
Great. And on the topic of growth and learning lessons, you've done some mentorship in the past. I've received a ton of advice in my career, a lot of good advice and a lot of bad advice. Talk about the best and worst advice that you've been given, and how do you think about giving advice to others?
Best. I've been given a lot of good advice. Let me see. Best advice that I've been given, I probably would say is maybe to not plan so much.
Hmm.
I think that as I've gotten older, the value of surrender has increased greatly. And a lot of times, I think that the best opportunities have arisen. Is that a word? Best
Yeah.
opportunities have come. Okay, great. Have come up for me anytime I'm like, you know what? Throwing my hands up on the roller coaster. Let's see what happens. And also to just be found faithful in doing the work. Like, I'll be doing the work and then doors open. When I say there's so many job opportunities that I have had that never came from me submitting a resume, but came
Hmm.
because someone thought of me. They remembered how I show up in a room. And them thinking and being like, oh, Regina would be great for this. Like, I'm pretty sure almost all of the things I've done in my life thus far have been off word of mouth or referral, at least a majority of them. And so just being able to let go of my planning and just surrender while doing the work has been a big piece for me. Is that and just showing up, like just showing up, and people telling me straight up, sometimes, Regina, for you, like that's enough. Like that, not to say again, do the work, but showing up also. And the advice that I would be inclined to give kind of echoes that is, plan but surrender. You want to make room for opportunity, but don't try to babysit the blessings. Don't try to control it. And be open to the journey. That's one of the biggest keys as well, because I have definitely struggled as someone who can have perfectionist tendencies to want to get things done right away. But for me, especially in the case of making Gina, it's reinforced the belief that, the small steps along the way, embracing the process is just far more valuable. Like we said, there's data I'm taking in that is helping to inform me as an artist in other ways. And so I would just encourage folks to embrace the journey and let go, release the grip on what you may feel it has to look like, because
Yeah.
it might surprise you in way better ways than you could ever imagine. So,
I love
yeah.
that. On kind of on that topic, I want to talk about the future. I
Oh
wanna I
my.
wanna I want to get some
Apocalypse.
some predictions on the books because I love doing that. And then I
Oh
won't
Lord.
I won't hold you to any of this stuff. But considering the kind of like traditional media and creator economy collision course, I guess
Yes, yes, that's a great way to put it.
if you had to predict what the media and entertainment landscape looks like in 2 to 3 years, and then maybe out to like 5 or 10 years, if you're feeling adventurous,
Oh
what
my.
kind of trends are you betting on?
Yes, so one thing I believe we're going to see kind of a lot of like mini studios and networks popping up all over the country. I think that we're going to begin to see a lot of people lean more heavily into their own networks, and creating the networks that are also maybe super niche and serve specific
Mm-hmm.
audiences. And that's going to be in high demand. We're always going to need stories, and people are always going to crave the stories that serve them. And so I just see a lot of specializations, if you will, developing in the film and TV space, and more acceptance of the fact that we're in a new wave of what we consider to be entertainment. One of the latest newsletters from How to Not Be a TV Writer, come on, John, was
Mm-hmm.
really insightful to me. It was probably one of my favorite newsletters, where you pointed out the literal cycles of history and how once upon a time people were like poo-pooing at film, and then they were doing the same to TV, and some were doing the same to social. And so I just see more people embracing that model, although some might be getting on the wave too late because of their inability to let go of the old. And I think literally right now is a big determining factor of the future for many creatives, like how you are embracing change and new ways to adapt your stories, I feel will be very indicative of how successful you'll be as a storyteller in the future. Whatever success looks like to you. For me, it means like reaching the audiences you're meant to reach and connecting at a genuine level. But yes, I just see a lot of innovative storytelling, a lot of new platforms maybe popping up, a lot of people thinking about creativity more from a sustainability standpoint. At least I know that's where I've been sitting in for months now, and a big reason as to why it's so important for me to have my own IP and things like that. But yes, I see ultimately a lot of change, and we're standing in the shift right now. And so yeah, embracing that change will be really telling for what the future holds.
So I guess off of that, what's next for you? Where are you spending your time? What are you
Who am
excited
I?
about? What's coming up?
What is next for me? Getting my thoughts together every day and trying to ensure that I'm prioritizing what I need to prioritize. Still working on Gina. I will say it's my creativity for creativity's sake projects, while also, I'm ultimately building a body of work. I'm building a library of what I believe to be super defining of like who I am, specifically in the realm of comedy. So
Yeah.
continuing that series and growing that is something that's important for me. I do have a Substack newsletter called a whole word, not me getting my own newsletter wrong, a whole word, which is it's pretty much me being myself and sharing a lot of my revelations as it intersects with like faith, humor, creativity, and just sharing my gems with the world, whatever I feel I'm being given. And my hope is ultimately that this newsletter would expand into a community of some sort, whether that's more of the digital space or also in person. I don't know why, but I've been really feeling led to think about what events may look like. That's kind of
Yeah.
tied into that. I feel like we're going to, as far as the future, really see a demand in person connection and gathering amongst each other. Again, being able to literally see and hear one another in real time. And so I see that community expanding. But again, I'm doing my best to not put the cart before the horse and take it day by day. I want to just make sure I'm building consistently and authentically. And that might not be doing a post like every single day or something like that. But when I say consistent, being consistently myself, and just seeing how that shows up in my work and how it resonates with people. So those things are definitely what are top of my mind. And yeah, as far as the traditional space, I'm open, but it's not the end all be all for me.
Sure.
I am, like many people, kind of watching a lot of things unfold and figuring out how I was mentioning to you earlier. I'm wanting to position certain projects, whether that be more independently or having a more traditional lean. So yeah, I'm doing the things and figuring it out as I go, like many people. Yeah, that's big for me for sure.
Great. Well, I would love for you to tell everyone where they can find out more about you and all the things that you're working on and creating.
Yes, for sure. Well, the first place, the Megatron, is definitely my website. It's like a me hub, which is www dot, if you still put that there, reginahoyles.com. I also have my production company, RLH Productions, which specializes in amplifying black voices and marginalized storytellers, and that is at rlhprod.com. I'm on Instagram, same Regina Hoyles. I am on the Clock app, YouTube at Regina Hoyles, and Substack. Again, my newsletter is called A Whole Word. I release it monthly, and so those are the platforms you can find me on now. And if you see me on the street, say what's up. Don't get crazy, but say what's up and stuff. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, or where you can find me.
Terrific. Well, Regina, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on the
Yes.
show. And we'll say so long, everyone. Thank you again for watching and or listening to another episode
Right.
of
Hello.
What's Wrong with Hollywood. We'll see y'all later.